Day 7 has arrived, which means it's time for a week review. It's been 7 days I've done a video, and I feel like that's really my key takeaway from the past week is my diet and like lifting and lifestyle changes have been so on the back burner. I didn't underestimate how much of a bomb would be dropped in my daily life if I really wanted to create a video every day. I knew that it was an outlandish thing to proclaim that I would do, but it is probably the most important takeaway from this like first week in review. But it doesn't matter. Diet. We'll start with diet, right? How am I feeling about my diet? It's fine. I don't need to lower the calories. I don't need to raise them in any way. I'm not nailing the macros. I don't eat enough fat. It's just one of those things that I'm not like a big cheese person. It's the easiest way to get fat, I guess. And olive oil is probably the main way I ever get it. Sometimes butter. But other than that, it's like majority of the time I hit 170 grams of protein. Majority of the time I'm having about enough carbs. Sometimes the carbs are a little low and I can feel it a bit. But otherwise, it's been fine for dieting. The first week has just been, I don't know what I'm going to do with this check. The first week's been good. Is that really, we're going to get that? That's how creative we're getting today. Exercise. I've been fine. I said I'd do 3 lifts. I did my 3 lifts. Weights are going up. The only thing I will say is that I'm still probably not, I'm not nearly as mobile as I should be. Cardio is going to have to go up over time. Not yet. Maybe when we hit a slump in the weight loss over weeks or months. But right now, this is also fine. And I think as I'm saying this, I realize, I'm just going to put good here, God only knows why. I realize that I should probably be a little more upfront in that if this is like your week 1 and you're starting to diet after having, if you're making a dramatic change to your life about anything, it doesn't even have to be food. My week 1 is going to look a little different, not only because who I am and past experience, but also because realistically, I started altering my worst behaviors in the first week of January. I wasn't counting calories. I was still kind of eating whatever, not really focusing on those things. But I did, for instance, I just stopped drinking alcohol, which is going to have an enormous effect. And similarly for you, if you stop doing any large order of effect thing, that's really, you just start there. Don't worry about any of this shit. If you drink soda every day, stop doing that. And then you'll suddenly start to lose weight. It doesn't last forever, but it is like a great beginning to just remove these things. Also, for exercise, I've been lifting for about a month before I started this series, or I'd returned to lifting about a month ago. So again, this first week is only a first week in terms of how I'm able to manage these things while also making these videos every day, and also whether or not I'm starting to kind of slip in one direction or another. Because I think that when you start something and you really find your stride in it, I think after about a month is when you may start to slip backwards, because you're really starting to reap those benefits, the serotonin, whatever it is. You're starting to feel that good feeling, and it's very easy to kind of fall a little backwards when you start to feel that way, because you begin to reward yourself and you feel that you are incentivized to indulge. So that's something I do have to be conscious of, because I do that. That's like one of my biggest issues. Diet and exercise are fine. My issue right now is sleep, which has always been my issue. These eyes are not only for show. I sleep poorly. I've always slept poorly. I don't like sleeping. I don't like going to bed. I slept poorly when I was a baby, as per my mother, and I slept poorly as a child. I had awful night terrors, which are sort of a nightmare where you're awake and you are fully convinced on like a chemical level that the nightmare is real. I remember every one of them. I hated going to bed. It's a long, someday make a video on it maybe, but sleep is an enemy of mine, and I almost never get more than 6 hours, which isn't good. I don't think I'm like special and I only need 6 hours. I will say that if I get under 5, I feel like I'm in another dimension. If I get more than 7, which has happened, I just said never, but I've gotten 7 or 8 before, a few dozen times, and when I do, I feel awful. So maybe 6.5 or something is like my golden area, but even that is hard for me to hit. It's very hard for me to stay consistent with sleep. If I could like have a magical pill, you play the game, if you had a magical pill that cut your calorie, like anything you ate would be good for you, would you take that pill? I would prefer a pill where the moment I take it, I fall asleep for the exact amount of time I want. I don't mean an actual sleep. I know there are pills for that, now that I'm saying it. But I mean more like a magical button where I hit it and I sleep perfectly until the moment I want to wake up. That would be, this is insanely important. Like I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to sleep when you're doing anything. You are like 1/3 of a human being when you don't sleep appropriately, and it is harder to lose weight, it's harder to gain muscle. It's not only harder on a biological level in terms of like the actual processes going on, but it's also just makes you worse at everything you do. And it happens in such a sort of nebulous way that it could be hard to even realize that the reason you're kind of underperforming in life is because you sleep like shit. But this is like insane. So this is something I really want to focus on, but it's really hard for me. So that's its own topic to really like tackle. I mean, beyond all of this, it's been a good first week. The biggest difference, of course, has been making videos. I've noticed that I want to do them as soon as I can, which almost takes precedent over writing. The way I sort of like block out my life in terms of like getting things done, and I don't always do this. This is just what I do when I'm well. You know, I've had many times where I failed to do this appropriately. The way I do it is I don't set like a time. I don't say at 7 a.m. I'll do this and at 8 a.m. I'll do this. I think things are just a little too chaotic for that to work. So what I really just do is I write, I read, I lift or run or whatever, lift, run, let's say rest, whatever. These three things, and then I have, for some reason I have it as desk work in my little like app that I use. These things, I just have a minimum timer for every day where I go, hit this number and you're fine. Writing, the minimum is 60 minutes. If you've ever written before, it's not nearly enough. I could write for 4 or 5 hours straight if I were in the appropriate headspace. 60 minutes is the minimum that I set, and I go over it. I often allow it to represent just like where I go, I'll hit that and then I'll move on. Really depends on what's going on. Sometimes it takes me 55 minutes to get appropriately into the where I need to be in order to create, but that is the minimum I do every day, and I do this every day. I've tried to think about ways to show this in videos in terms of like having, it may be aspirational for some people to see that I hit these things every day. I really don't know how to do it in a way that's pretty or that articulates what's going on well, but reading, 30 minutes. Almost nothing, especially if you like reading. When I say reading here, I'm talking about reading something that is relatively tricky to read. For instance, if I were going to read Ulysses, right? I'm not intelligent enough to just sit down and read Ulysses. Nobody is. Ulysses is something that you read a page or so at a time, and generally you read it with an annotated kind of guide. It's an incredibly complex gossamer that I truly do not, I'm not a genius in any form, even close. So the reading thing is also just something that isn't super fun. You know, it's not, I'm not reading, like I read before I fall asleep. That's a very different kind of book I read before. I'm reading like shit before I fall asleep. Not shit, that's not fair. Entertainment. So this reading is also kind of, I think it's probably more appropriate to call it study, but I always call it reading. I'm going to check the camera because I think I might be running out of film. Let's see. Film, yeah, I'm filming in a fucking, what am I at? 10. Oh, that's not bad. I'm actually going pretty fast. I'm going to cut it, but I just said, I got to check the camera. I may be running out of film. That's what I said. I meant space. Film. Yeah, this is a Super 8. So lifting and rest, I don't set a timer to this. This kind of disrupts this, but if I can't lift and it is a lift day, not a rest day, I try to get at least 30 minutes of something. Walking, do a set of kettlebell swings and then hang around, or just not sitting down. That's really what I mean here when I like set this timer for everything. And then desk work is always 60 minutes. The issue with this, obviously, this needs to change. This isn't specific enough. I can consider so many things desk work. This is kind of desk work in the sense that it's something that exists outside of these like 3 things I care the most about. This has gotten a little off topic, I guess, but for me to do an appropriate week in review, I need to, the thing that's really fucked my week up the most is making these videos. There are so many ways that they can be done, and I'm easily overwhelmed by the creative opportunities therein. But most importantly, I need to make it so that the videos are, there need to be layups, right? There need to be like days that are easier than others. And to an extent there are. For layup, like tomorrow I'm going to weigh in, right? A weigh-in day is a layup. I weigh myself, I record it, I talk about it. That's so easy, right? Days where I lift, the 3 days a week I lift, those are easy too, right? I just record myself lifting. I can talk over it, or I can talk while I lift. Technically, those days are like total layups. Week in review, like this. All these are set in stone. That will make it significantly easier for me not to sit there and go, what am I doing? Because at a certain point, how many times can you talk about this? How many times can you bring up the same few topics? And I guess I could certainly do it forever because I'm a blabbermouth, right? But it's not exactly the most engaging thing in the world. So the biggest disruption this week has been these videos, but I do feel morbidly set on doing one a day, no matter what it does to myself or my environment. It was bound to happen this way, but yeah, I don't know. My expectations are null, and I intend to just be clinical about it. But it's for a first week, this is it. This is fine. Everything's going about as well as I can. I think I will do maybe Monday, maybe Tuesday. My video will be like planning a schedule of videos, or I'll talk about something that's more, I'll try to really get into the nitty gritty of like how I can actually get away with making a video every day without driving myself insane, or without just making utter garbage every day, right? Because right now the bar is so low, but I would like to, I think I could do better, obviously. But this is a week in review. There's nothing else to really get into. All right, I'm back. I'm actually cutting a few things here. I'm trying to make it just a little more concise. I also am running out of space on my phone, so I have to do this. Day 7 is in the books, and the first week is down. And the first week, depending on your headspace, can be super easy, can be super hard. All depends on you and where you're at and the temptations around you. At the moment, I feel fine. I just need to figure out how to work this new thing into my daily life, into the routine that keeps me, that is sustainable, and not have it, function as a sort of grenade every day. But week 1 down, tomorrow we'll weigh in. It's going to be a good one. We're going to weigh in. I got a good feeling. Who knows, maybe I'll eat my words. But that's it.